Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet. Hi all, I have a good friend of mine, Kylie Winson, on the show today, talking about an important topic to my heart, creating lean and green cultures within organisations. Cultures where people continuously improving and innovating every day for themselves, customers, and the planet. If you're interested in learning more on this topic, we've put a lean and green how-to guide up on the Enterprise Excellence Podcast website under downloads. Let's get into the episode. Welcome to episode 150 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. It is such a pleasure to have Kylie Winson on the show with us today. Kylie is a sustainability and business improvement leader at the WInson Group, an organisation that has been running an enterprise excellence and environmental improvement journey for many years. We're going to explore practically how an organisation can enhance its culture of environmental improvement and achieve additional win-win outcomes simultaneously. Let's get into the episode. Kylie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Brad. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Kylie, why is environmental improvement important right now?
Well, I think there's many layers to that, and I think it's important because we see increased government scrutiny over what people are doing in that environmental space now, where we never saw that as much 20 years ago. There's more regulations to follow. But I think our customers and, society in general has an increased value on environmental improvements and what's happening in the environment right now. So really from all levels, we see that environmental improvements are really important, and it's important for our customers, for our potential employees, for those employees that we have in the business right now, and as well as us, to make sure that we're meeting our obligations. And really, it comes down to it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. There's a massive shift going on, isn't there?
Yes.
And with that, Kylie, when you talk about environmental with all these elements coming through, I know that at the WInson Group, you've found a massive win-win where you've made environmental gains, but also made economic gains at the same time and cultural gains and things like that.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on a lot of thinking still that there's a win-lose between environmental and economic gains and things where we don't see the connection of win-win at the minute still?
Yeah, and I think that's probably just a historical thing where people just thought that, the environment wasn't as important, it wasn't a focus, and they just saw it as a bottom line cost, as opposed to now, realistically, when we put in environmental wins, we see passion from our employees and our customers for what we're doing. And, it helps get that buy-in across the business, so it improves culture. But often when we look at environmental wins or, recovering items or whatever the environmental initiative is, there's often is a win-win against the bottom line, like we're saving money or we're saving efficiencies, like there is some sort of gain. And that's been the real eye-opener, I suppose, along the way, is that it's not a win-lose. And the gains are in many different aspects. But employee buy-in and culture has been a really big one.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? And it's, I guess, even myself, I think back to history, and even myself, I saw it as a win-lose, and just the win-win that you've demonstrated at the WInson Group and others have through work is amazing. Now, Kylie, how did you and the WInson Group go about the journey? Bringing in this environmental focus and getting this improvement happening to also get these greater win-win outcomes?
Well, I suppose it was just sort of a natural evolution. It started with us meeting some of our compliance regulations, and through that, we just sort of got the ball rolling, and it's just picked up momentum along the way. And so it wasn't something that we sat down and mapped out for a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. It just has happened, and I guess the more wins and gains we've made, and we've seen our customers enjoying those and liking what we're doing, as well as our employees. And so that has helped the momentum pick up. So the more we've done, the more we want to do. So it's just, it really has been a natural evolution. So, and a really good and exciting one.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. And what would you say on that journey, Kylie, are the key things that truly helped kick it forward? Like, what are some of the key elements that made it work?
Well, we've had to bring everyone along for the journey. So it's not one individual's work as such. So really leadership buy-in. So coming from the top, that they saw that it was important and they were supportive of it. So that management buy-in and leadership was really important. And then really bringing everybody in. So letting everybody know that everyone played a key part in this. It wasn't just one person, and it was all the 1%ers. So we always talked about it was all the 1%ers added up to an overall improvement. And the other thing that we've really tried to do is, as we've evolved, we have the data to back up what we're doing. So we've got measurable targets, and that way we also took it down to each department level. So everyone knew their exact buy-in. It wasn't just an overall total across the business that this is what the business was doing. And by every department knowing what they were contributing to the overall figure, it made them all aware that they all were responsible. And how were they responsible? And then how could they improve in their own individual areas? And I think that's really helped as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Two other things I've seen too, Kylie, with what you've done there, because I'm full disclosure, I do a lot of involved with the WInson Group and have been for a long time. I see that a lot of your work you've done, you've bolted well into the existing team performance meetings, like the fact that they execute improvement in the work through what they do, their rhythms of visual performance meetings. But I'd have to say the other one, project management, Kylie, for the big stuff, you have done very well executing projects in a good structured way.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that support. Yes, and I think that's part of it is setting out, what are we trying to achieve, whether it be electricity improvements, solar installs, or waste segregation, that we have. When we have specific projects, we map them out, we set the scope, and then we, deliver to that scope. So, and then, delivering is one thing, but also just making sure that everyone is aware of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and then trying to show them the measurable improvements from installing that as well. So that, this is what we set out to do and this is what we are doing. So it's really important to sort of not just leave it as, oh, it's all done, it's installed now, or implemented. You have to keep going and making sure that everyone's aware of it, and then revisiting it, making sure if there's other efficiencies to make, extra bins to add in, or whatever it might be, just to keep that conversation happening.
Yeah. For everyone, because I saw many of these projects happen, Kyle and a team on the big projects, I'm talking the big stuff here, it was a weekly communication rhythm, wasn't it? It was like everything you've done, you've had like this weekly communication rhythm to give feedback and get feedback. And I think that
Yes.
involvement of people just makes people feel part of it. And then when the change
really
comes through,
important.
it's not a big shock or anything like that. It's just that they're part of it.
Yes, and I think, it's just human nature. Everyone wants to feel that they're considered and involved, especially when it's happening in their environment. So really my motto probably is over communication. I feel like no one ever says, stop telling me what you're doing. They would rather know more than not enough. So that stakeholder involvement and buy-in is really important. And at the start, it's really important to really tell them or let them know what's happening and the potential, and then what is the impact for them, and that way, there's a weekly update, but then sometimes it can be daily if it's like going to impact their area. And I think everyone feels that buy-in right from the initial then. So, they should, because it's really what they're doing and it's in their environment.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive. So, Kylie, with leadership buy-in, how did you go about that? Getting buy-in from leadership and, getting them to understand the gains that are here rather than them seeing it as a win-lose and, get that commitment.
Well, I suppose it was really, compliance was the start of the journey. And then from there on in, it was really not too difficult because it was really our customers were wanting it as well. So, the customer is always the end goal and the end focus. So, by just showing that the customers are asking for this and what can we do to improve our customer experience, and giving the sales force another tool in their tool belts in terms of environmental or sustainability discussions that we can have with our customers to help them on their journeys, that was really helpful. And so I think it's just naturally evolved over the years that we've been doing it. And we've been really on this journey now for a good 5 years. Nothing's happened overnight. It's just been, steps in the right direction, and yeah, we're just really gaining momentum.
Yeah, I love that because I know everyone, the WInson Group, which is Signet and Insignia, are very customer centric. It's a very customer centric company, isn't it?
Yes.
So you tied it back to what is most important really to all the leaders there, because they just really live and breathe customers so much, don't they? So
yes, and that's what we're here for. We're helping our customers compete, and we're helping give our customers what they're asking for. So
yeah, that's neat.
It's really important.
Now I know they involve everyone. Sorry, I know you've bolted into a lot of the team's rhythms and meetings and what they do, and been able to execute improvement themselves. But you've done things like the green team, like the reward and recognition you're doing.
Yes.
Do you mind explaining to the listeners some of these programs that you're doing and systematic approaches you've taken to get everyone's buy-in?
Yes. So along the way, we recognised that we needed an expert, and it doesn't need to be an expert, but someone in each area that was the champion of sort of the enviro initiatives in that area. So we formed what we call the green team, and I think they're common across a lot of businesses these days. We have someone representative from just about every department on our side in Brisbane, and so it's about 12 to 14 people. And we have a meeting once every 2 months, and they come along and they talk about what's happening in their area, suggestions. So we have some action items. We try to keep it short and sharp. We don't want to take up heaps of everybody's time. We encourage them to represent the enviro space in their weekly huddles with their teams. And we also use this green team as a space for some education. So I think it's important that we're arming each department with some knowledge. So that's what we've done in each of the meetings, is tried to have a little educational piece as well, so people have something to take away and to talk to their teams about. And just recently, as part of that, we ran a trivia quiz across the company. So which was really there was quite a lot of buy-in for that. We ran 2 rounds of trivia, 10 questions around. There was a prize at the end that was, another sort of environmental keeping rubbish out of the bin initiative, and there was a lot of excitement around it. People really loved that fun educational piece, and it was about things that we do in the business, but things people could take home to their everyday lives as well. And there was a lot of positive feedback. So just a different way to get people to learn about what can be a boring topic, because rubbish segregation, what to put in the right bin, is not exactly the most glamorous of topics. But if you incentivize it and make it a bit fun, that was great. And it really started some powerful conversations. So we called it a conversation starter. The green team members, they facilitated it in each of the teams, and that way they also felt like they were helping to drive that knowledge across the business as well. So it really was a really good thing for everybody. So yeah, that was a really good initiative that we've just run recently.
Yeah, it's cool. Really driving on that emotional piece with change, isn't it? Getting that buy-in and excitement and energy. The other thing I saw you do, Kylie, which I really loved, was it's like that mastery type of approach where, the green team and other team members actually went out to parks and cleaned up parks and, did environmental initiatives and do outside of work. And I know you could go, a reward is going out and picking up rubbish for half a day, but, everyone was psyched by it. Like, they actually are like, yeah, we're able to go out, get off work for a time and go out and make a difference to our environment. That was really cool.
Yes, no, and it was pretty powerful, and people wanted to join the team just so that they could go and do that, because I think it's a feel-good factor. We all want to feel like we're doing something for our communities and the world we live in. So we ran that last year for the first time, and we're going to run it again this year. So that's going to become an annual event in our green team calendar, which is exciting. and we will look to evolve it, wherever possible as well. But yeah, the feel good factor is undeniable.
Mm. To get change, you need emotion. Like on this podcast we've had, oh, if I had $1 for every time purpose, anything that's emotional, motivational, has been mentioned to try get transformation, to try get changed, I'd be a rich man.
Yes.
And you've done it well with, the bigger picture of the purpose of the group and linking into that, helping Australia compete and the whole environmental bit. But I love how you've done so much of that emotional driver through gamification, making things fun, mastery with getting off site to clean out up, and it's really cool. It makes a difference.
Yes. Every little bit counts. That's our motto.
Yeah. The other question I've got too, Kylie, and I know you've done this and I see it around the site where there's photos up in every area where there's a team and there's a photo and there's a connection to environmental there of what each team's doing to make a difference environmentally. And these photos are up on the walls or in the work areas. What was the strategy there and the approach you took with that?
So what we thought was, and this was once again another green team initiative, was we really wanted each team across the business to think about what their individual impacts could be for 2023. So we got them all to start thinking about what the little improvements they could each do to drive an overall bigger improvement. So, so we did a each team had a team photo and each team made a commitment to what they were going to try and do. And some of them were very small, like it was not changing the world. It was just, we're going to print less, or we're going to take our coffee cup instead of getting the disposable cup when we get our coffee for our team, those kind of things. And so it was small things that meant something to each team. So as a team, they came together to make that commitment. They took a photo, they wrote it on a piece of cardboard or a cardboard box and held it up, and and I think by doing that, they all sort of made that commitment because it's there. There's a moment in time where we all came together and did that. But then we decided to take it one step further as well, and we asked whoever was comfortable to take an individual photo of something that they were trying to do at home that was better for 2023. So whether it's taking your garbage bags or composting more or building the veggie patch or whatever it was, and by doing that, it just gave some, I guess, culture to each of the teams, and the people that walk into the team can see something personal about each team member as well. So once again, conversation starters, making those interpersonal connections between people. People talked about, the best ways to compost or what veggies are each growing at whatever moment and things like that. So it was more conversation starters once again.
Yeah, it's great. I know I've enjoyed walking into each area and seeing those photos and learning and seeing what they're doing because they're quite big, everyone. These are like big poster size photos that are in the work area, either at a team's huddle or in their work area because they run virtual huddles, which has been a big outcome at the WInson Group through COVID, wasn't it? Shifting to virtual style huddles. But in those environments, they've still got them up on the wall prominent and people talk to them and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So you see, I guess too, Kylie, you've done so many initiatives to help build that culture and that engagement, and that motivation and that ownership and that energy. And it's really getting impressive results, which I guess is where the data and measures comes into play. Having that data to back what's coming from it, what are the gains that are happening.
Yes, and I think that's important as well because people want to see, that what they're doing does have some effect. So our overall, in terms of the rubbish segregation, we have a 40% diversion target for this financial year. And each department can see where they're tracking and how they're improving so that, they can see that by putting in the extra bins or taking that extra effort to separate out the plastic from the general waste and all of those things really does make a difference. So it's important that people see the improvements.
Yeah, it's great. So Kylie, for a leader or anyone, what would be the 2-minute tip you'd give them? The enterprise excellence 2-minute tip in this area, we'd say, okay, if you're looking to crank up and escalate the level of environmental improvement, but also getting the win-wins of the economic, the cultural, all those other gains, what would be that 2-minute tip you'd give them?
It's really just about taking, I think, people along for the journey at all levels. So getting everyone to buy in, creating that cross-functional team, a green team, a power team, whatever you want to call it, where people feel they have a voice. So, and not discounting anyone's suggestions, making sure they're all thoroughly, considered, implemented if possible. But yeah, it's about that, getting that cross-functional buy-in at every level.
Yeah, and you can really see that you've got the buy-in and you've driven the motivation and the emotional piece, which has been amazing. Credit to you and the team and everyone involved. Kylie, what's been a recent insight for you? What's been a recent learning?
I suppose that my recent learning is it really comes down to our trivia. It's all about the fun. You can't discount the fun factor, and the competitive factor. So I think as humans, we all are naturally competitive to some degree, and incentivizing. Giving that little incentive really does help drive things as well. So yeah, that's been a really recent insight.
Yeah, you've done well with it. Now, Kylie, how can people reach out to you if they want to learn more or connect? What's the best way?
You can catch me on my email address, kwinson@winson.com.au, or LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, or through you, Brad. I'm happy to always talk to anybody who wants some tips or just wants to talk through what they're doing. I'm always looking for tips as well. So happy for anyone to share what they're doing as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kylie, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing knowledge and helping us create a better future. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate your time.
Cheers, Kylie. Bye for now. What a great episode. Remember, we've put the Lean and Green How-To Guide on the Enterprise Excellence Podcast website under downloads to help you go further if you're interested. Please like and share this episode with others who are interested in improving their organization's culture to reduce impact and enhance performance simultaneously. There were two key takeaways for me from this episode. Firstly, leadership engagement on an environmental journey. Leaders' behaviour sets the tone for what is important within an organisation. When leaders from the top down engage in any program of excellence, energy lifts as the program is seen as important. Leadership behaviour and support is so important to sustaining an environmental improvement journey, which by its nature is long-lasting. The second key takeaway for me was everyone engagement. I took so much from the conversation with Kylie, together with her team, how they have done so much to engage everyone within the organisation on the journey. They've made it fun, built in celebration and recognition programs, and achieved great things by building energy and momentum forward. Thanks again for your time and knowledge, Kylie. Thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.